Today we're going to talk about compensating family members, and this could be your spouse, it could be your cousin, your brothers, or your sister. In many instances where I see it is with your kids. And the first question you may ask is, okay, why don't I just take this cash and I just earn the money, then give it, especially if it's kids, just give it to my kids. Well, the more money you have attributed to you, of course, it means you're potentially going in a higher marginal tax rate. Once you're in a higher marginal tax rate, you're paying more taxes. Whereas if, for instance, your son or daughter get paid directly, they're in a lower marginal tax rate, and so it's more tax efficient to do that. So in many instances, that's what's being contemplated. Today, I'm going to talk about 3 things to consider when compensating family members. Now, understand that this is a very short presentation, and in this video, I'm only going to cover so much. I could probably talk about this for hours, but we only have so much time here. What's the first thing to consider is the financial needs of the family member, and particularly where it has to do with children. You want to look at their after-tax requirements, right? What's their lifestyle expectations? Quite frankly, what's their spending habits? You have a sense of what you think this money may be used for, but is it actually going to be used for that? You know, you may say, okay, you are now living on campus, and so this will be helpful for housing, or maybe it's towards your education, or maybe it's towards your investment, or maybe you even want to start an early retirement fund. Whatever the case is, you want to consider how much that is. Now, I know a big concern for many parents is the responsibility aspect of it. How financially responsible is my child? I never really had income like this on a consistent basis. I've always given them allowance. I've always given them some money. Will they be responsible? And the first thing I would say is probably have a conversation with a child. If you do not think it would work to have a conversation, or you don't think you're prepared to have that conversation, you may want to refer them to your advisor. What I've done in the past is I've had conversation with the kids of my clients, and in having that conversation, I just talk about certain foundational things, budgeting, risk management in certain instances. We've also talked about investment. We've talked about retirement, certain foundational things that, quite frankly, a lot of kids should have learned in school but never did, and just so they're prepared to, know what to do with the money before they actually even receive it. Next one is maturity level. If you're going to hire them for a job, I think it's important that they are ready for that particular role. We as parents sometimes have high expectation of our kids, and we think, they are geniuses, and they may very well be geniuses, but they may not be prepared for the particular role. And so for the role or the job that you're going to give them, just make sure that they're prepared. And it doesn't mean that if you're not prepared now, they should never get the role. It just means they may need to do some training, either inside the business or sometime outside the business, to be prepared for this particular role. So the first one is financial and lifestyle needs for the family member. Next one is tax implications. Here's the thing. If you're hiring your child, I'm going to use an extreme example here. You hire your child once a week, they work 2 hours, and you're giving them $150,000. You have got to justify that, And I'm not saying in the rare instance, you may not have somebody doing work that provides that type of value, but it's very, very unlikely. And so if you're paying them an amount, just understand that it has to be reasonable. And if it doesn't align with the CRA rules, there will be reallocation of the income that triggers taxes, right? So be careful of that. You can't just handle any salary or bonus that you want, and you can't just handle dividend if that family member is a shareholder. You can't just handle any dividend to any amount just randomly. It has to be reasonable given the circumstances, because then you might have reassignment of income, which may undo everything you have planned for, and quite frankly, you may even need some professional help, which may lead to additional costs. So just make sure that things are reasonable. Now, if you have a child or a family member that's working in the business, and you're providing them with compensation, salary, dividends, what may happen is, or even dividends, where they're a shareholder, what may happen is over time, you may want to say, you know what, I want to transfer some ownership and control. Be very careful of this. Make sure you think about it from a long-term perspective. Make sure you understand what you're doing, because certain decisions are irreversible, especially if you do something like an estate freeze. And it really just When estate freezes, you freeze your equity of your business, and all growth is now reflected in the new shareholder. And in this case, let's use that example of your kids. So all growth, all equity in the company is now being attributed to the kids. And quite frankly, if you transfer ownership and control, they have the benefit of the equity and you have the benefit of the decisions. And you probably, worked at this business for tens of years, and you're at the point now where you see this growth and you think it should be handled a particular way. The kids may not align on that. And so what may happen here is you may have some rift within the family, or what you may see as your equity, your ownership, your wealth not being used the way you intended it to be. And so you want to have, really strong considerations. And this is especially true for people who are just thinking about taxes. Meaning, it may be tax efficient to do that, but it may not be the best decision from a values perspective, which I think is so important for business owners and individuals generally, that their plan aligns with their values. So just consider that from a compensation standpoint, that you may want to reward them with growth in a company. Just know that certain decisions are irreversible. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you get, this sparks some ideas and you can get a sense of things to consider. Again, it's financial and lifestyle needs. The second is tax implication and reasonableness of compensation. And the last one is just be careful of the ownership and the control considerations that you transfer to these kids, right? Hopefully you found this helpful. Look forward to providing you with videos similar to this where I empower and help business owners. Take care. See you later.